Good evening and welcome to our Friends of Wheeling tour. Today is Thursday, July the 14th, 2022, and we are at the beautiful First State Capitol building here on Eoff Street in Wheeling. If you are not a member, I happen to have membership cards with me. We would love for you to join us. We try to do something once a month. You never know just when or where. Depends on owners of buildings. And so Joanne Sullivan is currently behind the camera, but then I will take over while she'll take still shots. And in addition to sending this out live, we also post our tours on the Friends of Wheeling Facebook page. And feel free to share that with friends and relatives out of town. So, I am pleased to introduce Pat Cassidy. Probably most of you know Pat anyway. Pat is the owner of this building and has put a whole lot of effort into making it as beautiful as it is, and you'll see when we go inside. So, Pat, do you want to say anything out here?
Sure. I'll just tell you a bit that you could probably read yourself on the highway marker, but I want you to think back first to even before West Virginia became a state, which we all remember was June 20th, 1863. And that was the day when Governor Boreman, the first governor of the state of West Virginia, gave his inaugural address to people gathered here, and he gave it right here. You are an audience, as there was back on June 20th, 1863, the birthday of our state, when Arthur Boreman gave his first talk. And not surprisingly, what do you think it was about back in 1863? Well, it was in the middle of the Civil War. The country was very divided. And part of his speech was talking about rebellion against the Union, against the country and people who were loyal to the Union at the time. And he also talked about education and how important education was to the future of the state. But I wanted to take you back even before that, to 1861. Even before the state took over the building to use as a capital. At that time, it was Linsly Institute. Y'all are familiar with Linsly. This was their second home. The first home was down there on Chaplin Street, where the church is. And in 1861, the restored state of Virginia, you all know from your history, was really meeting for the most part at Independence Hall. And that was Governor Pierpont. Don't forget, Governor Pierpont was never the governor of West Virginia. He was the governor of the restored state of Virginia. And his offices were at Independence Hall. And the Custom House, they used to call it as well. And all of their meetings weren't there, though. They had some meetings here. And in 1861, they had a meeting here in this building, and they decided the legislature, that is, of the restored state of Virginia, decided to set aside some land in what was then Alexandria and Fairfax counties in Virginia for the purpose of honoring our war dead. And they got the government to take the property of Robert E. Lee's widow at the time, I believe, when they finally got around to doing it. Mary Ann Custis Lee was George Washington's, Robert E. Lee's wife. And the government took their property. And it has become what we know now as the Arlington National Cemetery. That decision not to take the property from Robert E. Lee, but to put it in those counties was made in this building. Alexandria County later on split off, and where the cemetery now is in Arlington County, but that at the time was part of Alexandria County. So that decision was made even a few years before this building, the new state of West Virginia decided to rent it from Linsly. I expect many of the young cadets were involved in the Civil War at the time, and I imagine there was not much going on educationally in 1863 here. So the new state leased it from Linsly, and this building served as the first state capitol from 1863 to 1870. It served another stint as the capital between, I think, something like 1874, I'll get the exact date for you later, 1874 to 1876, because at that time, I don't know if you remember from your history, it started to move around at different places, and they actually put it on the ballot, where should the capital be? But you know, when they finally got around, our legislature down there and at the time, our legislator did not even put Wheeling in the running. So there was no way we were going to win Charleston won the election. It moved, came back briefly to Wheeling for a few more years. And you all probably remember the beautiful county courthouse we used to have here. That was actually built to be the first state capital when they were thinking Wheeling was going to keep the capital. And they started to build that and finished it around 1876, the same year that Wheeling lost the capital for the last time. So really, this building really served as the capital up to the end. One other important thing before we go inside. The 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments to the United States Constitution were ratified by the new state of West Virginia in this building. They are as relevant today as they were back in 1863. The 13th Amendment talks about, of course, abolishing slavery. And as we know, even in modern society, there's still implications of that former condition of servitude of certain of our citizens that's still having effects. The 14th Amendment said the due process was to be provided everyone, due process of law. And you all know from the latest news, there's questions about Supreme Court rulings and all this, trying to determine what that means, due process. What rights do people, citizens have under that amendment? And the 15th Amendment is the one that gave voting rights to people formerly in servitude, meaning African Americans. It was an amendment specifically to make sure they were not discriminated against in the future in being able to vote freely and fairly in elections.
Just men, though.
Huh?
Just men.
Just men. Oh yeah, it wasn't until 1920 that women. Okay, I missed that part of the history. Didn't mean to. My wife will kill me if Jean tells her. But anyway, yes. And again, that's as relevant today as it was in 1863. One final thing, the look of the building is not the way it looked. You'll see a picture in there about how it looked in 1863. It was a rectangular building, brick facade. It was brought to this look, which is called a neoclassical look, or maybe even Art Deco look, in the 1920s by a man named Clarence Bertschy. Some of you may have heard about him, who ran a mausoleum and funeral home out of this building. And he's the one that put the two wings on the building, these two jut outs here, and all the neoclassical effects like the urns and other terracotta features. So when we decided to bring the building back and restore the building, when you do it under the Secretary of Labor standards, you're supposed to pick a time to restore the building back to. And of course, if we went back to 1863, we'd have to be tearing off the wings and stripping the walls, and that didn't seem to be the right thing to do. So we restored it to what it was in about 1922 or 23. So 100 years ago today, this is pretty much exactly what the building looked like. And I have an old photo there of it, and it was pretty much white. I don't know if you remember before it was repainted here recently. It was a sort of a dull, grayish, weathered look. But we'll talk about that some more when we go inside. Welcome.
Oh, Pat, is this yours?
Yep.
Leave that on.
Oh, thank you. maybe I should go. Yes. Okay. Can I offer people to grab something before we come? Yeah, okay. All right. If you need to go off record, you can. So, hey, for a moment, grab a seat, but first, please help yourself to a little refreshments. There's wine there, there's punch, summer punch, and some cheese or cookies. Maybe make a little plate because I'm going to show you just a very short slideshow.
The decision was, where is that? Where can I find all that? Is that in West Virginia Encyclopedia? Is that...
You know, I have learned it over the years, and I know I got it somewhere, but I can't tell you off the top of my head where that comes from. But I can find. I bet you Margaret Brennan would know.
Because that's... They're doing a lot of research on the Washington Lee family, so...
Oh, really?
That really caught my attention.
Yeah. It's an interesting story. I didn't know it the first 10 years I was here. Yeah.
That is.
You will not be censored or carded if you take a little glass of wine. I want you to know that, even though this is a law firm here. We're not going to report anyone.
I think we're all of age.
All right. You behave yourself, Dave.
No, sir. I know a good lawyer.
Who would like to serve as my assistant here for a moment and pass materials out? All right. So now everyone gets one of these. If there's not enough, I have more upstairs. I'll go get them. So we'll see how many we need after you pass them out. Okay, now a few of you are not going to get a plaque because I only brought down 20, but when we go through the building, I'll get some more. So those who don't get one right now, let me know how many we need. And whoever's interested, here is a little more detail on some legal issues about the building, which I'll just pass around or leave here. Not necessary. I'm going to talk about most of it. All right, so while everyone's getting seated, let me just hold this up and remind you that this was, as you recall, the old city-county building. And you see here the inscription on it, Ohio County Courthouse, built in 1876 as the first state capitol building. And yet it never served as the first state capitol building. They intended it to be, but by the time it was finished, the Capitol was already on its way to Charleston. So I wanted to just tell you, this room, we believe, was probably one of the legislative chambers for, we think, the Senate of the legislature of the first state of West Virginia, the new state of West Virginia. And although we don't have any photographs in existence that I have found over the years that depict how the building inside was like back at that time. As it is, my wife and I purchased this building in 1993, and it was at a time when we wanted to make a private investment in the heritage project that was going on in the city, the initial Wheeling Area Heritage Task Force, and also the Wheeling National Heritage Corporation that was incorporated in that decade, and later designed and developed the Intermodal Center, the Artisan Center, and the Heritage Port. But as part of that, we were trying to generate excitement for private investment too, and my wife and I decided to make one of those private investments. All of the money, by the way, you'll remember, just for local history, all of the money that was used to do the Heritage Port, the Intermodal Center, and the Artisan Center was all federal money that really came to Wheeling because of the efforts of Senator Robert C. Byrd, alive at the time. You know, he was the biggest business in West Virginia for many years, and he did these kind of things for a lot of different cities. And he probably, we never saw the money locally. It just came, the Department of Parks, Interior handled all of that. But we got involved in the design and the construction of all the buildings. And it was just interesting that it was an amazing project. And what I like to remind people is that back then, City Council and all city representatives and employees were pretty much pledging, you know, that if the senator got us all this money, we were going to be dedicated to preserving Wheeling's cultural and historic heritage. And that has waxed and waned over the years, but I think a lot of people have been continuing it. And I would venture to say Friends of Wheeling is one of the oldest organizations that has been continuously involved in that effort, even before the heritage area was established. Okay, so this room, getting back to this room, let me just show you the slides on how it was when we got it. This is the first phase of our development, starting in 1994. As I said, we sort of got it in 1993. And this is kind of how it looked. You might remember that. You see over here, there's not even a window here. There's a window there now. And it was pretty black at the bottom. Notice the windows, they only went halfway down. They had kind of wood fillers in there because someone in the past didn't want to really put back the right size historic windows in it. This is a side view of it back in 1993. This is a look of the elevator. I want you to take a look at that because now our elevator, and I think what we have to go up maybe in small groups because it's an old antique elevator, but it's fine, it works well. We have it inspected and taken care of every year, but it is an antique. It's about 100 years old now, but I'm told by the elevator people it'll last another 100, so long as we're able to keep it going. And since then, you'll see a lovely mural on the walls in there, painted by, some of you may remember, local artist Patricia Croft. She did a number of murals in this building, which you'll see as you go through it. But one of them, a beautiful one, is in the elevator itself. This was just the downstairs, how it looked. Here we're one of my old friends looking at some of the, this is how the interior was.
Had it been vacant for a period of time between?
No, actually, this is, we had, it wasn't vacant so much as we had to tear it all out. This, for example, was about 5 different offices with a drop ceiling, cheap old 50s construction. It was used for doctors' offices. Some of you may remember pediatricians were here. This was all hidden because they had a drop ceiling, and we did not find this until we ripped out everything that was in here. You know, we wanted to bring it back. I'll show you some, there were holes in it. HVAC piping coming down through some of the medallions. This is on the first floor, which is what we did first. Well, that's a current look, but we did the second floor first, where our offices are located. You'll see that. So that was the finished product. That's a shot of my office. This particular ceramic sculpture, when you go out, it's right across the hall. It was done by West Virginia artist Jamie Lester, who is a well-known sculptor. And this was one of his early works. In fact, he calls it his first paid commission. And he doesn't do ceramic anymore. He does the big life-size sculptures now. But this was his first. He let me name it. We call it Wheeling's Heroes, after all the various occupations and people who worked in Wheeling: steel workers, glass blowers, pottery workers, and of course, you can't see there, we also have, you'll see it outside, nail workers and things like that. These are some of the early staff. Okay, then the next phase we started in 1998, and that was the first floor, this floor right here. Look at that. These are the arches you see right here over above you. And that's what we discovered when we took off the drop ceilings. And we could only find one person in the valley who knew how to build back the arches that had been ripped out. And you see in that little corner there, that little plaster wreath. Here it is. It's an original, but it had a big hole right here where they had piping coming out, just missed, destroying it over the years, but they didn't, and it's still here. Anyway, we found this fella. He was in his late 70s. He stood up there on a ladder and rebuilt those arches, and that's what you're seeing right now. There he is. And you see some of the medallions here are kind of that's what I'm talking about, the medallion there. But you see, that's how the ceiling was when we found it. Some of the medallions were missing. We had to have them reformed. Okay. This is just some works of Mr. Griffith, who I'm sure you know about, Tom Griffith. Because we have some of his art here in the other room, you'll see. These are a couple of our old workers. Now, phase 3 started in 2002. And let me just see what that was. I think that's the basement. Okay. When we go downstairs to the basement, I want you to remember this. This one area, this is the kind of construction it was. It was pure, all stone in the foundation. And so to open up this little patch in the basement, they had to really pretty much remove this whole piece of stone wall. And you'll see the results here in a minute. That's another shot of it. That's another shot of the stone. And that's what it is today. And I just wanted you to see that the walls, you know, we just put 2x4s, whatever they're called, right up against the stone, you know, downstairs. It's a well-constructed building. It's not going anywhere. Okay, this is a little cigar lounge that you'll get to see when we get down the basement. Okay, so this is the last phase, starting in 2013, and that's when we replaced all the windows with historic windows, the size, and did the outside of the building. And some of you are going to know the fellow who did that, the outside of the building, Cyril Ventnor. And there's Cyril. Cyril's a real artist, and he pretty much did the whole renovation of the outside building. That's Randy Pritt, a friend of mine he's a great handyman, does everything. Okay, I wanted just to show you a few things here. Now these are the decisions we have to make as to what kind of sidewalk to put in front. And I was thinking back of things I saw in Dublin, you know, and the cities there and the communities, and in Venice. This is a neoclassical building, kind of like they tried to model this kind of building on. I know, and this is the kind of ceiling, of course, much fancier and gaudier. But again, it's the same style of the kind of thing they tried to do here locally. And a few things I always like to point out. The Artisan Center. It's a jewel, and I hope we continue to believe that. A person who was a friend of mine, Michael Murphy, he's now deceased. He was an architect from Baltimore. He and his firm designed the Artisan Center, and you know, he was very big into preservation himself of buildings. And he reminded me all the time that just because it's new doesn't mean it shouldn't be preserved. You know what I mean? So his design, I would hope, over the years, the people in charge of the Artisan Center now would consider not to change the design, because it won national awards, architectural awards, the Baltimore AIA. Senator Byrd was very happy with the design, and it came for the inauguration in the late 90s. I just included these. These are the little houses down in East Wheeling. And, you know, I thought they were very good little architecturally for Wheeling because of the context. It wasn't just putting a suburban type building in the middle of an old neighborhood. It was trying to fit these houses, even though it was low-cost housing for the most part, I think, trying to put them in the context of the neighborhood, which is the most important thing, I think. Same with these. That was a beautiful architectural beauty I loved in the city. Of course, it's been torn down. These, believe it or not, were award-winning little houses back in after the war. They were remember now that we all hear about the small house movement, like it's a new thing? These were the original small houses in Wheeling, West Virginia, and they're still in existence, a few of them. Okay, and just briefly going to the port, I just wanted to show you some of the pictures while it was being constructed, just to let you know, feel safe, it's not going anywhere. They put a lot of anchoring in, levels of anchoring, and it's really, you can see some of the way it was braced. It has about 5 of those walls leading up underneath the okay, well, we're almost finished. And this was one of the first groupings after the waterfront came online. July 4th, I think. Okay, so that's our little slideshow. And one more thing about this room before we start walking around. What we have used it for over the years is we have a little foundation called the Walls Foundation. I don't know if any of you have been to any of our functions, and Sean Duffy, sitting back there, is our executive director of our little foundation. And it's interested in the kinds of issues that we talked about before, working people and fairness and equality for people who work for a living, whether they be professionals or steel workers or coal miners or whatever. But it's an interesting project. I mention it because when you go outside, you're going to see a display that we're doing in conjunction with the Heinz History Museum, and Sean is pretty much largely responsible for the display. It's a beautiful display, and if you have any questions about any of the wall stuff you'll see tonight, we'll also take you down to the basement to see our archives for our little foundation, which we use in an old laboratory that was down there, which you'll see. But otherwise, this room, we have allowed it, we have sought local artists to make contributions of their art. Of course, we paid them. It wasn't like we're taking it for free. But there's all these pictures, mostly, or paintings, are from local Wheeling artists. This particular quilt and its companion across the way, some of you may know Sandy Blackwell. She worked on this for about a decade, finished it in 2011, and she says, I wouldn't have known this, but that these are West Virginia quilting patterns. And in any event, it's good for the sound. It helps the acoustics, and Sandy did a great job. And if you read some of the artists, you may know some of these people, but generally different. The photographs here are by a fellow, and Sean, his name is escaping me. Bill Burke. He was actually at Wheeling College with me back in the early 1970s. And Bill ended up being a photographer to the White House under President Obama. And these are some of his early works from Wheeling in the 70s. And some of you of a certain age, I'm probably older than everyone here, but Dave, you'll remember some of these people. You will. You look at some of those photographs, you're going to remember some of those people because they were famous street people in Wheeling all through the 70s. And like I said, let's start in the conference room. We'll go down, let's go down the basement first, and then I'll take you up and back down. And in the meantime, a few of you will have gone up and down the elevator, but unfortunately, because it's so old, if you overcrowd it, it won't snap or anything, but it does slow down, so. All right.
So we can use the stairs.
Yes, we'll use the stairs going down. Although, why don't a few of you, up to 5, take the elevator down? I'll show you how. Oh, first look at our display case there.
When's the one going in the library?
I'm working on that now, Ed. Yeah. It should be another 2 weeks.
I just have to figure out.
If you want to move down this way, you can also see the, I don't know if you saw the Jamie Lester sculpture, which is here.
We can use the steps to go down?
Yes,
basement? Yes.
But be careful, that last step down there is short, because there's a fire door we had to put in there.
Pretty good.
Okay, let's all meet downstairs. Let's take a few people down in the elevator, or so you can see the mural. Oh, I bet you our cleaning people have it. No, here it comes. Well, you can go, but you want to see the mural first. Okay, so it's a mural of the old Mount Deschantel, which we also lost to the wrecking ball. And on this side, it's the old city-county building. I'm sorry? Patricia Croft. They don't no longer live around here. They're in New York, I think, but yeah. Okay, so if a few of you want to go head down, I'll go with you. So I'll work the mechanism. You come too. All right. All right.
He must have stopped it here.
All right. I think, yeah, that'll be good.
That'll be it.
All right, just hit. We're going to the basement, I think. Oh, the door's not shut. Safety feature. It will not work without the door shut.
There we go.
Now we're good.
County building in St. Clairsville, isn't that what the Wheeling one was similar looking to that?
It was, yeah. It was a beautiful building.
Oh, that,
Oh,
when
yeah.
you see that building, you think about it, it's beautiful. Such a shame to tear that down.
All right. Also, you can take a peek at the.
Oh, yeah, here we are. Yeah, all right, I'm done.
Now, starting here, just want to show you. This is a little library we've been putting together. We call it the Ruther Wheeling Library, or sometimes the Ruther King Library after Reverend Martin Luther King, mainly because Walter Reuther was probably one of the few white guys who marched with the Reverend Martin Luther King in the Great March on Washington in 1963. That was the time Martin Luther King gave his "I Have a Dream" speech. And Walter Reuther was with him from Wheeling, West Virginia, and also gave a great speech that day, which you can access if you want through Sean's display up in the, it's one of those phone things. I don't know how to do it, but he tells me it could be done. Oh, shoot. I don't know if I brought my keys. I have to go get my keys to open. You have your keys to open the door?
I do.
Good.
Thank goodness
I'm
I'm here.
great. And I just want to make sure, because my daughters tease me about this. I have 4 grown daughters. That is not a picture of Hitler. We are not Hitler fans, right? That is a picture of Stefan Zweig. No one knows who Stefan Zweig was, including my daughters. They say, "Who is that? Who's he?" But he happened to be probably one of the most famous novelists in Europe in the 1920s, before the Nazi era. He had to flee Germany, as a matter of fact, because Hitler was burning all his books and that sort of thing. But he has that look. So everyone says, "Dad, what are you doing with a picture of Hitler up there?"
So there's no relation to Wheeling with this gentleman?
Not with that gentleman, no, except we just like him. We think at the Walls Foundation, we're kind of, it's sort of based on the philosophy of Walter Reuther, and he was a big believer in the Universal Declaration of Rights. And the whole reason for that declaration after World War II was that if people had economic justice, they would not bring in totalitarian fascist leaders. That was the idea. And it's as just like the amendments we talked about, it's as relevant today as it was after World War II. So that's sort of where he fits in.
And WALS stands for, it's an acronym?
The Wheeling Academy of Law and Science Foundation, actually, yeah. Wheeling Academy of Law. And we have CLEs for training for lawyers, and Sean has an annual labor seminar that's gotten pretty famous throughout the state, and really bring in national speakers and interest every Labor Day, so you might want to look for that. You're welcome to come. And we do other educational things along the way. So come on up here. We'll show you where our Walls office is and our archives. In the old laboratory that I guess when it was a school, Linsly, this lab is still there. We didn't know what to do with it. I couldn't find anyone who wanted to run a lab, so we didn't really change it because I kind of like the old.
This is no longer a restaurant?
No, not currently, but it's still available. If you want to start one, I'd be happy to talk to you about it.
What about
If I could cook,
embalming the
maybe.
bodies? Didn't they do that?
They used to do that here, downstairs here.
down here?
Yeah, so if you start to feel a chill or something.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, now if you're wondering, the rest of this served as a as a restaurant for various people over the years, but no one here for too long because we're so close to the church. They could never sell liquor here, so when they got bigger and they tended to move out. But we've probably been an incubator to about 3 different restaurants in town over the years. Yeah.
Seems to be an excellent shape here down here.
Oh yeah, it's beautiful. It's still pretty.
Yeah.
Put some lights on to show you how.
Somebody could come in here tomorrow.
They could turnkey.
Yeah.
We do have a lady who's Rybals, who
there a
is just.
kitchen area?
She is running the kitchen now. She does takeout food for people. Is it okay now?
Yep.
Okay.
I can handle those problems. Oh, this is the lab. Oh, look at, oh, it
Oh
does
my
look like-
gosh, I had
it looks
no
like a high
idea.
school lab.
Yeah. Can you find him in there? Oh,
like
where's
inside.
Waldo? That
Yeah.
would not be easy. Well, listen, this is something.
What kind of lab was it, do you know? What you did?
Chemistry lab?
Chemistry, I would think, probably, Ed.
You wonder if maybe this is where the embalming room was.
Well, actually, it's on the other side where I'm going to show you where the cigar room is now.
Okay.
Much better use.
Much better use.
But much better use of it.
That was a good, fairly good picture of your umbrella in the newspaper.
You practice law?
Yeah, still.
Labor law?
Yeah,
Well,
actually,
what
yeah.
What a guess.
Yeah,
huh?
and civil rights. Yeah,
Yeah.
have been for 50 years after
There
the
you
show.
go.
But I'm probably coming into the end in the next several years. But I still got a few more years, I think.
Yeah. Excellent.
So long as the health
Well, I
holds on.
figured you with your union.
Yeah.
That the labor made sense.
All right.
Where's your book?
Where's my
Your book.
book?
Yeah, you said you wrote a book.
Oh, yeah. No one's ever bought it though, Dave. I ran out of copies. I'm going to get you one.
Matt, this was not an embalming lab, right?
No, I didn't think so. No.
People have been asking.
No, I think this is from when it was a school. And when we bought the building, there was, remember Coleman's lab? He used it, and they did testing for the dogs and the dog racing. But he was only here maybe a decade, and he left. But the lab was here before him. Sean, do you have the office to the what we call the cigar room?
I don't know, Pat. We can try. I have 3 different keys.
Do you?
Yeah.
You should, but it's not like it's a secret or anything.
Well, I'm just saying.
I don't know if you do or not. I think it's in my
I've never
code
tried
upstairs.
it. I actually have 4 keys. One of them ought to be.
One of them might work.
Show me where to.
Yep. Okay. Well, we'll let people. I mean, they can linger as long as they want, but there's a lot to see in here, Sean.
Hi, how are you? Down here?
No, we'll go around this way. But yeah, why don't you go check and see if it's on? Otherwise, I'll have to run upstairs and find my keys. Is there a light here? Okay, Sean, could you hit those lights over there? Yeah, there's one right there in front of the.
Pat, who did you buy this building from?
Actually, the owner back then was a lawyer by the name of who was that? What was his name? J.D. Miller. Do you all remember J.D. Miller? Yeah, he was an interesting guy.
And I guess I thought it would have been a doctor. It was called Medical Arts at one
It was the Medical Arts Building. When we bought it, it was still called that. Yeah.
It was still called that. Did it have mostly doctors in it?
Yeah, but it was all that old 50s construction. They had pretty much buried everything, all the original stuff. So this is all new construction. I mean, we really had to rip out the insides. There was nothing left of historic, but we tried to bring it back to a historic look. But no, but we've had, like I said to a few people, we've had several restaurants here. We don't have one currently, although we do have a lady who rents the kitchen and uses it for takeout foods and that sort of thing. But it's open for anyone's use. If we have some budding entrepreneur restaurateurs out there, give me a call and we'll work something out.
Unfortunately, none of my.
You don't have it. Okay. So when you're walking, be careful with these steps. But remember I showed you where the stones were cut out? This was just a stone wall. And we wanted to open up the room a little bit. And so that's the result. Why don't you go around, and I'm going to run upstairs and get my key so I could show you the end of that, and then we'll go up to the next floor. I'll go this way too, and not have to go through people. If anyone on here is one on the first floor, but you have to hit 8100 to get in. 8100, which is our telephone number, but because for a while we were having everyone coming in from off the street and having, you know. So it doesn't look so much like a morgue anymore.
Oh, that's original.
Yeah, get that at an estate sale.
Oh, so it wasn't
Yeah, we
original
built it in.
to,
No, oh no,
this-
that's why this was where the morgue was.
where's the chores?
Long gone.
Oh, who's the guitarist?
Oh,
You?
yeah, that's just but you know, not just for fun, not for show. No, no. Sorry, I could have made this cooler, I think. Just pointed out this original sign from my heritage. Help wanted, no Irish need apply.
That's a real sign.
Oh, that's a real sign, yeah.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
That's discrimination at its finest.
Oh, yeah.
Well, maybe we should rotate out so other people.
Okay, yeah, let me go ahead. And you guys sneak in. I'm not going to show you that. It's just a little small kitchen, but so I have a tenant there, so I don't want to interrupt her. But yeah, we had, you know, when some of the restaurants had entertainment, they had like a guitarist or someone just in the little box here. And it was a lot of fun, but like, what's that?
Where was the kitchen?
Kitchen's back here. But I have a tenant in there, so
Well, that's not too far away.
Uh-uh. Yeah.
Probably went by, didn't pay much attention.
Well, I'm glad you're here today. Are you going to the poll tomorrow?
I would try. You seen any of the
No,
guys?
I haven't been there in about a week. I've been just really tied up, but I'm going to get back tomorrow, yeah.
He's asking where the stained glass window came from.
The stained glass window, I don't know if any of you remember that for a short time there was a cigar shop in Wheeling called Churchill's. Do you remember that? They tried to make it and it didn't work, and it was a friend of mine, and he said he needed to sell all his stuff, and I said, yeah, we'll put it down here. So we got it from their building.
So where did that come from again? I'm sorry.
It was called Churchill's. It was a cigar bar on not Main. It was up on it was on Main Street.
And that was in the cigar bar.
Yeah.
But is that
So was all the furniture in there.
okay?
Yeah. All right, now let's walk up the steps. We're going on the first floor. I put out some more of those plaques for anyone who didn't get one. Now, if there's still someone who didn't get one, let me know. But that's on the first floor where that display case is. Now we're going to walk, though, up the steps to the second floor, which is where our law office is. And so you can see a mural in the stairwell going up there. Okay. All right, let's go up here. Everyone's going to get their exercise tonight. Okay, so more plaques here, and let's just keep going up these steps. Jean said that we had to make this an exercise routine tonight. As you're coming up the steps, here's another mural by Patricia Croft, this of some of our favorite books.
Are these steps, the stairs original?
Yes. And we had to fight with the fire department, where Dave used to come from. I never fought with Dave, but because they wanted us to put a build around the steps. But because it was a historic building, they let us keep it open. We can congregate a minute in the hallway. Again, if anyone wants to use a restroom, you don't need a number for this one. There's women's and men's restroom through that door You're welcome to use it. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. Yeah, you could everyone could take the elevator, although if there's a door open somewhere, I think we left it open, it won't work. But that's a good thing. Okay.
Fine, I'm okay.
So remember I said the first phase, this was the very first thing we did, which was to build a place for our office. So I'll show you my office, and most of the offices are the same way in the little conference room here, but you get the idea. Here's a smaller conference room in here. And if you walk this way, I'll take you into my office. But I do have to warn you, if you walk into my office, I'll have to send you a bill tomorrow, $60. Okay, I got files everywhere. Don't mind my files, but this is the way it looks most of the time. You know, so this is a typical office. I'm not going to take you into every office, but I'll just show you mine. And yeah, my old interested people from.
Is that one of like one of the urns that's on the top of the building?
Yes. Yeah. I told my daughters they could
Remains,
just put me in that
I was
one.
going to say, there's no remains in
No.
this.
No, I'm saving it for me.
You're the cigar smoker.
Yeah.
You're
You're not supposed to do that. I open the window and shut the door. You're not supposed to know.
I'm not coming in so you don't have to send me a bill.
No, I'm teasing you.
$20 to look in.
Yeah, it's only 20 to walk through.
Who was your decorator or whoever planned all this, the wallpaper and such?
Pretty much did it ourselves.
You did it? You and
Yeah,
your wife?
yeah. Well, not her. She wasn't that interested in it. Pretty much me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but that's all right. She doesn't mind. She just, it's your office. You do what you, yeah. Yeah, so here, let me leave and people can walk in and out.
Do you do mock trials? I see that.
Oh yeah, we used to, that was our foundation used to do the mock trial program for county schools and other counties in this state. We had lawyers would sign up to be the judge, and put the kids loved it. Then we put it all online, and then people quit using it.
Try the wolf with the 3 pigs. And
Yeah, that's it, yeah.
But you also do West Virginia.
Uh-huh. Oh yeah, that one, I was going to mention it.
Rolling back out.
Did you see that on C-SPAN?
I did. I've seen it since. I did, yeah.
Some guy from Roanoke was real mad that West Virginia won.
Yeah, I know. Well, the guy who represented Virginia, he was Al Amstein. He's a character. I mean, he's still complaining about it. I should never have won. Okay, so here's a photograph of the way the building looked back in 1863. If you want to walk through there, it's fine.
From the Brown collection photograph.
Brown? What is that?
The guy's name was Brown.
Really? I didn't know that. Yeah. And that's how it looked in 1863.
Linsly must have had some money though. That's a substantial
Who?
bill for Linsly.
Yeah. It is.
Right.
Do you have a sprinkler system in here?
Actually, we don't. We don't.
It's so scary, isn't it?
No, we've never had any problems. It's all, new, all new HVAC and everything. But they didn't require us to put a sprinkler system in.
Now, you now have some solar power. You want to say
Oh,
anything
yeah.
about that?
Yeah, okay. We'll look at that on the 3rd floor. Except I don't know if the offices are going to be open up there. I don't have my keys. Do you have the main key to the building?
Front door.
That might work. Yeah, let's try it. We'll bring it up. All right, so now upstairs, just another level of offices. If you don't want to walk up there, that's fine. But whoever wants to, come on up, and I'll show you outside the solar system we have on our garage.
I'm going outside as well, walking these steps.
Oh, well, the cleaning people are here. Hello.
Take a telescope.
Now these are more. There's two more offices of our office down here, but everyone's gone. But this is a separate space. Is available now. We used to have the James Lee Step Down Center here, but they just left a few months ago. So this is an empty space. If anyone needs office space. We think this room was another chamber, legislative chamber, because it was really pretty much open. The office is just off the wings. That is another Patricia Croft original. Patricia was a good friend of hers. Oh yeah, Patricia's a fairly young woman.
So did you put up any of these walls?
Oh yeah, all of them.
Okay, this was completely open.
Oh yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's what I said. The office is off the side. It was just a big open space. That's why we think this one, just like the classroom downstairs.
Right.
And there's a restroom up here too.
So is the first floor the only floor that had the medallion on the
Yes. Right.
for the
And that was kind of usual with that art. It was just like the first grand floor. And well, I mean, who knows? You know, it was all torn out, so we don't know. Maybe there was different ceilings.
in the staircase and the beautiful wrought iron, were those all original?
Yeah, those are original.
Yes, yes.
I'm going to open up the door here to the outside so you can see. We put solar panels on the roof of the garage. Didn't want to put it on the historic roof, but and it really does make a difference of about almost half of our electric bill went down. If you just look on this side, you should see the solar. Yeah, it's fine. They don't build them like this anymore.
Oh, this is a bonus.
Yeah.
So that's a garage for vehicles?
Oh yeah, we have that's where I park. We have about a space for 8 cars. It used to be a gym when it was a school. Inside parking, it's great. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
How long is that supposed to last?
Indefinitely, they say, and we've already had it for at least a decade, and there's been no kind of maintenance we had to do or anything like that. It's already paid for itself.
Thank you.
Yeah, so the rest is good, whatever happens, yeah. Not a bad view, huh? I often thought of coming up here and putting in some kind of deck as to sit down and except we don't have any time to do that.
No. Well, you put it in, I'll come up and sit.
All right. Okay.
You get a ceiling, roof tile on your panel.
Really? Would you hold this open because it'll lock if you?
It makes some of your stuff funnels.
Ooh, yeah. What is that from?
Oh, it looks like a roof, like a roof panel.
I don't know. I I don't know that we have a panel like that, but that's funny. I'll have to check it out. Yeah.
I'm not criticizing.
No,
Can
I know.
I still come up
no.
here?
Yeah, you're still coming. All right.
You've had the solar how long?
The so-
The solar
about
how-
a decade.
All right, good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's good. No maintenance or anything like that.
Yeah, wonderful.
And it's online, so you can just
You
check
had
your.
a primarily southern exposure here that you could.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It wouldn't have worked really
No.
as much on the top.
No,
yeah.
that was the perfect as
Yeah.
far as your property. Yeah.
So, question comes to mind, why are you selling the building?
Well, because I'm getting old, and I'm not retiring from the practice, but we've had 2 people retire from the practice over the last few years, and we may have the similar kind of thing at the end of this year. So we're not going to need all the space, for our firm. But I'd like to stay in here as long as I can. I'd like to find, like the state say, you keep it for another 5 years and we'll buy it for you. I don't want to sell it to anyone. I want to sell it to someone who will take care of it, because I think it has a historic value.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so if someone watching this is interested in purchasing or leasing office space, they should contact
Oh,
you.
sure. Contact me. Yeah.
Okay.
I'll give them a special tour too.
Okay, all right. And is there an email address or a phone number that they should
Oh,
use?
yeah. P. Cassidy, PCassidy at walslaw.com. WALSLAW.com.
Thank you.
Thank you, Gene.
Over here, is that part of the church, the old white door?
Yes. It's sort of like the sacristy or something in the back. I don't know.
Like a little apartment?
Yeah. Well, it might be for like the priest or something. I don't know. It's not my church, so I don't really know what that. But it's a beautiful. That's one of the old. That's one of the oldest churches in Wheeling, I think, isn't it, Gene? St. Matthew's, not the oldest, but one of the oldest.
Well, the Blue Church
Is-
is actually the original St. Matthew's, and that was one of the oldest. It's 18.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
That's
And,
great.
Yeah. So this is the new St.
St.
Matthew's.
Matthew's. Okay. Walk this way. And you go downstairs and get another drink before you leave. All right.
How pretty that is in there.
Oh yeah. Well, a few of us can go down here.
Oh, I'm a bigger person.
Okay. Yep.
I'll take a little ride.
Gene, come on. We'll take. That's just a print, but it's a famous print. You've seen that, I'm sure, many times. Yeah.
I've seen the one in the middle with all
Oh, the
guys
golfers.
on it.
Yeah.
So who did the mural?
Patricia Croft. She and her husband lived here in Wheeling back in the, I don't know how long ago. You remember her?
Yeah.
Gene, probably the early 2000s, something like that. Okay. Now listen, please feel free to get something else to drink, as water too, and more cookies or whatever, while I try to find my keys.
Thank you so much.
Okay,
This has
Gene,
been
I hope
wonderful.
I hope you
Yes.
enjoyed it.
Yeah, we
okay,
appreciate
great.
it.
Okay, all right. Take care.
you.